This is Real Women, celebrating women in film. Today, we are talking to a very good friend of mine. His name is Ronnie Lloyd Nanos. He is a director, choreographer. He is a creative. Um, I've been really excited to watch what he's been up to. He just finished his second feature film called Death Club. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. You'll be able to see the trailer down below. And I just wanted to say, hello, Ronnie. How are you?
Hi, Brenda. I'm well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad we got to do this. I know we're doing it a little more remotely than I'm used to.
I
So,
apologize. It happens when we're across the country from each other, but that happens.
yeah, where you are right now.
Today, I'm in Texas right now. I'm in my home in Texas.
And you own a bar in Texas, right?
I do. I do.
Yeah. And now, so I want you to tell me how. I know we went over this before when we did the first one, but it was all audio. Now we're on video.
I
We're getting
know. I think
bigger and better. So I
that's
want you to
awesome.
tell everybody
Congratulations.
about you, like how you got started as a filmmaker.
As a filmmaker, wow, that's a great question. I always consider myself an accidental filmmaker, to be honest. It was never actually part of the plan. I'm a live performer, and I directed and stuff and choreographed for live theater. I'm not theater guy, ballet guy. That it just kind of fell into my lap and decided to go from there. I was in Las Vegas doing the show Sordid Lives at the Onyx Theater, and I was the choreographer for Evil Dead the musical. And at that time, Joe Lujan was filming his film, The Immortal Wars. And I just happened to be in town at that time when they were doing the reading. And they had already been cast and auditioned. And, our executive producer was his executive producer from our Evil Dead executive. So I got to just participate in the reading because one of the actors was missing. And I got asked to come in and be like one of the walk-on roles. And yeah, it just kind of started there. It was completely by chance, by accident. Even after that, I wasn't sure it was something I wanted to do. I didn't understand a lot of, you're on a set and going, why does this take so long? What is it? And that was my mentality going, I don't understand and I would ask a lot of questions. And so that's really how it started. It just
the mantra of the filmmaker, just sit around and wait, or hurry up and wait.
Exactly. And so it snowballed from there. And that's really, yeah, I wish I had a more interesting story. It was, even
so I feel like though, because you are a creative person, that filmmaking kind of comes a little natural to you because being a choreographer, you're always kind of changing things up and moving things around, right? So and then of course you're telling the story through dance.
Well,
so
yeah, absolutely.
Now you're just telling stories through light and sound and moving pictures and scenes, right?
I think you get that. You're a live performer. I know that well about you as well. That yes, that training that you have for many years, it does come in handy when you finally set to the goals of directing and being and putting together crews and staff or to create a film. You do learn a lot along the way. Again, as I hopped in, it's so odd when you go in as a creative, people tend, like, oh, you're going to be an actor, you're going to be this. And I'm a very reluctant performer, to be honest. Surprisingly, people don't always believe that I'm like, yeah, I'm not really.
They don't realize that you're a professional burlesque guy too. So
yeah,
so I think you are a performer.
Yes. But even at that, I do prefer production. I do prefer directing. I really do. I get shocked that anybody, when I get to be on that side of the camera as a performer, as an actor or anything, or even performing in burlesque, it shocks that someone still wants to see my 50-year-old butt doing anything. So I'm thankful for that. Absolutely. But yeah, again,
I think, and as far as burlesque is concerned, beauty comes in all ages and sizes. So
absolutely.
I think and then, everybody has their own preference. Not everybody cares if you're 20. It just depends on where, and especially who's looking, where they're at in their life, right?
Absolutely. I agree with that. But I think we all have our own self-image things as well, that we judge ourselves more so than anyone else. And yes, we come from, especially in society today, we do the acceptance of age and body type and all that, but it still doesn't have that little voice in our own heads where I need to feel this way when I'm doing that. So
Right.
for me, that's a lot more intense as a performer. Those self-doubts come in a little more often when I'm performing. They're there as directors too, because I think it's increased 100-fold when you are a director as well, because you're having to guide a group of people and work under producers. So you're having to please both sides. And you also want to have your own artistic strokes as a director. And we're working in independent film. So we're all often dealing with very limited budgets. And that's all the beautiful, wonderful things as creators we'd like to do. We have to find the way to best do them within the confines of those budgets.
I just worked on a pretty big production. I can't really talk about it because, NDAs and all that. But I feel like when I was working the production, I found them doing things that I have done, and I'm sure all you filmmakers know this, but renting or buying furniture and then returning it. And we're talking about a multi-million-dollar budget, and they were doing the same stuff that I do. So I feel like it's not the size of the budget, it's how many mouths you have to feed.
Exactly.
So it could be a huge budget and you can have great art, artists working the sets and all these great things, but those all come with a bigger price tag and more to manage.
Right. And I think that's what it is it is, again, the term, how many mouths you have to feed. It really comes, that's so true in so many ways, because again, no matter what your budget is, you really want to, in so many ways, you have to be a people pleaser. You have to please so many people, and it's tiring. And I am so grateful to get to. I am. It's wonderful to get to, but at the end of, I don't think a lot of people realize that even as a director, unless that's what you're just hired to do, you're just hired to be a director and be in there for your 10-day to couple months shoot, and that's what you're paid doing, and you're done. And that doesn't usually happen to us in independent film, especially for directors. We're there for pre-production and the post-production, and it's a year and a half to 2 years of your life that you're dedicating as a director.
For one film.
Yeah. And
and even if you're moving on to the next film, I don't know about you, but for me, it's like I did the feature film and I'm trying to circle back. But the problem with circling back is that there are those people that were available are no longer available. Mm-hmm. And then the people that I counted on to bounce off notes from, because when I'm writing, I need someone to, be as excited about what I'm writing about, so that I can bounce with them. It's like, is this funny? Is this not funny? Is this working? Is it not working? And they're not there anymore because life happened.
Yeah, or they're on another project. Again, I think even as a director too, even afterward during post and even after working with the editor, I do have other people that I kind of show what we're doing, because I do want those other set of eyes and honest opinions going, I want this to be as strong. So you're not going to hurt my feelings. Tell me what is the issue. Speaking of that, I'm really excited to see your next cut of Rogue Angel.
It looks so much better. I'm really excited to see it. We got a great composer. You know what? The advantage of having a super low budget that I had was I'm a very honest person. So my thing is I need this done, but this is all I got.
Absolutely.
So, and because people are creative and we love to help each other out, this person I never met before who contacted me and said, I would love to work on something with you. And I was like, honestly, I need a composer now, but this is all I got. And
isn't that nice though? That's awesome. Isn't that nice? Again, I was lucky in the first two. We had a composer and stuff that, within the budget of what our producers are putting in that, but it's also still staying with the confines of that budget that they're giving you and trying to get the most out of. I think my composer in this second film in Death Club worked for us in Ring of Desire, and I actually think he worked for less during Death Club, and I think this was a harder film to compose because music was so essential to what needed to be done with it. And I was really, really fortunate and lucky for the soundtrack that the editor I worked with, Kane Blust, he did so many amazing things, even visually. He did a lot of the VFX while he was editing. That wasn't even part of his contract. And I was like, yeah, I love that. No, we'll keep that. But he was a musician and had original pieces of music. It's kind of odd when he was sending, while we were editing, I would give a feel, and I had temp tracks that like, this is what I did this scene and what I imagined this sounds like. And he would send back some of the scenes with some of his own music, which tended to be covers. And they were spot on, but we couldn't use covers, of course. I was like,
Right.
hey, I love what you're sending, and you're really hitting my vibe really well. Do you perhaps have any original music? And he sent me this whole catalog of stuff that he did. It was amazing to find out everything. And so we got to use his original music in the film, and it fit perfectly. It's one of those, it just was so lucky to get that, because that was a stress going, this has got to work musically. It's about an old nightclub. So I that shout out to Kane Blust. He's fantastic. So fantastic.
Well, I would say his name one more time because I interrupted you.
No, you're okay. No, it's a shout out to Kane Blust. He's so fantastic and so talented. So
yeah. So what I did was, because I didn't know, because my first feature film, you don't know till somebody tells you, right? So I did look at. I was using Envato Elements so I had laid all the music out through Envato Elements, because I had even called them and said, "Can I use this for a film?" Because I had no budget for music, and they're like, yeah, you can use it. Well, I could use it, but it's only for film festivals or at a theater. There was no broadcast media, and so that's kind of where I got stuck. And I was talking to Deborah Richards. She called me and she asked me where I got my soundtrack from, and I told her, and she goes, "Oh no, you need to relook at that contract." And I had other people look at the contract, but the fine print was so fine, I didn't catch it. So, but I really think the music is the most important thing. Fortunately for me, because I already had music in there, he had an idea.
Exactly. And that's what happened with Kane too. He had ideas, because even when I was filming, even with Michael Sue as our DP on set, I had songs and stuff that I picked. This is how this film sounds to me. This is the mood, the tone that I want here. So I was able to pick it. And I think Kane's similar to age as I am. We're both you're a Gen Xer as well too, that he knew. Kind of like,
I am not. I'm actually a baby boomer.
Oh, are you? Wow.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older. Not much, but a little bit older.
But yeah, we were similar in age, so the vibe worked. And what was great, how I got Kane, was I was through Michael Sue when we were looking for an editor. I wanted to make sure I asked my DP, who do you think is going to work best to make your work look as good as possible? And he suggested Kane. He didn't think we'd be able to afford him. He wasn't that pricey, but he was a little bit more. But he really worked out great. It was a great suggestion. It's one of those things that, listen to your DP. They know what they want their work to look like. And that editor just happened to be a musician as well. So that was.
Yeah, I think too, editing's like probably the hardest thing I do editing, but I'm not, I don't have all the big equipment to handle all the hard drives and all of that.
Exactly.
And then of course, dictating to an editor, because even editors have their own creative feel. I think it makes it harder. Luckily for me with Glenn Student, he and you have to know how to talk to an editor, because you don't want to say, well, you absolutely have to do this.
Right.
You always have to give them a reason why, because they have their own creative twist. And then you say, okay, well, this is why I want to change this. And then, and this is why. And as long as you give them a reasonable why, not just to add extra work on, and then it's fine. Like it worked great. But I probably was over at his house 10 times.
Right.
More.
I think it helps too that with yours that your DP was your editor. So he kind of knew what you wanted because he was there on set with you.
Yeah.
And that helps. With Kane, he wasn't, but again, I over organize. I'm ridiculous about organizing and time and this. And when we sent him the script supervisor book, it was basically a guide to exactly what we wanted, where the shots were. And even with the original rough cut, he gave me exactly what it was. And then we did some tweaks here to lengthen some time for the flow of the story and different things, but that really helped, and it made it really fast for somebody that wasn't on set. Again, I think there's so many ways to film. I've worked on different films where the director or the DB are the editors as well, but they don't need a script supervisor, and that makes sense. I tend to use one because I started as a script supervisor when I started going into production. So, for me, I knew the importance of that from that perspective. You learn more as you go along with different directors, and that's the neatest part, is working with all these people that have so much more experience than I do. And
it's so funny. Yeah, I think because I do the show, it's funny because I've been running into filmmakers that never acted in a film, never took a class, never worked with a filmmaker, made a film on their iPhone 11, and they sold it.
Wow.
So I don't know. I think, of course, we learn a lot of stuff on YouTube and all of that. But to me, it was like kind of mind boggling that there's a lot of things that are happening that people can do with their iPhone. I don't know if I would try that, although I do want to make a feature on my GoPro just because.
Yeah. Well, this is a creative to challenge yourself, I think. Yeah, and I see a lot of that too. And again, everyone goes a different path and what they want out of the industry as filmmakers and whatnot. And no one's right or wrong as what I'm learning. We just have our own paths and what we want to do and accomplish from where we're at and what we go to next. Again, I get very envious of other filmmakers. I've yet to even get to pick a script. I've been given scripts, and you make the best of what you are given. And that's not even a knock at any of the writers. It's a business.
I have a question.
We've got to do this. We've got to do that.
Right. So let me ask you. So if in your ideal world, do you at least think of a story outline that you could hire a scriptwriter if you didn't want to write it yourself?
I do.
You love that you want to do?
I do. I'm actually kind of working on that. I'm going to try to write myself first, but I am going to talk to many of my scriptwriter friends as I'm doing that. They know I'm going to bug them. I'm actually about to go into doing that through the month of October and the end of October, a script that I would like to write and create. But will it just be my own work? No, I'm definitely going to confide and ask some information. You probably YouTube, be like, hey, when you're writing, what do you I'm coming up to this. What do you do about that? So
this is what I have learned about that, because I consulted a lot of people about a lot of different things, because I do respect other people's opinion, and I don't think I'm the smartest person in the room. So I feel like, and it's funny because it's like, well, I could credit you for this, and like, well, I'm just giving you an idea. You're the one who's actually putting it on paper. So unless they're actually typing it out, I guess it's pretty much open, free reign, and you can put yourself as the writer. Or if you feel like they've contributed a lot, do it as a co-writer, because honestly, this is what I've learned, and I don't know if you feel this way too, but I feel like when you make a feature film, no one ever looks at the writer. They look at the director. The director, so the writer gets credit, but it's not as so does it matter?
And I feel it's probably got to be, if not one of the hardest job in that is creating that script. And just because that's about what I'm going to go into. So yeah, it terrifies me. I'm excited about it. I mean, I've been great on the scripts. I've been able to edit and get my ideas in when I've gotten the scripts from the last two films. And I've been able to edit, scripts forever. That's part of my training in theater and stuff, and how to cut scripts and how to move forward. So that did come in handy. But when now it's something that's coming from your own soul as an artist and a creative, and I know you know that's just because you know that more than anybody, having
it's very painful.
First film. And that's where I get so envious of some of you that, again, you just finished your first film, but it came from your own soul and innards and something that you felt great
but I did grab things. Like I had Julie Garcia, Brasenio, and then my daughter Brenna. They kind of, first we were kind of doing this, it was a social film, but it had a little horror element. But and then when I would talk to him, my brain was going this way and then they were going off in like 6 different directions. So I think that at the end of the day, you're the writer, you have to stick to your guns, but it's always good to get to filter through what other people say, because
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, when I look at the script, I know that their influences are all over the place. And especially like the female empowerment thing, like Brenda's like, oh, you need to go watch Promising Young Women before you even start. So,
but exactly, but you knew that what your story wanted to be, what you were, the statement you're trying to make, or even if it's just the sake of entertainment, what you're, again, that's got to be the hardest thing for writers, especially in film, because you got to think of, well, if I'm writing this, I really want to just have that creative outlet of, this is how I feel, this is what I would like it to be. And, but then you got to think of things of like, how many sets am I going to use? Because you got to think, what's going to be the budget for this? How many actors? How difficult would this be to film to do that? And those parameters again, and I get that fear. And again, you probably could be able to guide me better on that. The fear of, well, am I going to get what I want? Am I compromising what my message is?
I think all of filmmaking is compromising. And I feel like I used a ton of locations. I actually used one location for a bunch of locations.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of, but that the creative. And the other thing is, of course, if you have the people that are in your group that are either working for you or not, and they're as excited about the project as you are, then magic happens, because they start reaching out. Oh no, we're getting this done. And that's how I got it done. I didn't pay a dime for one location, because everybody was just like, oh no, you can use this. And we had a bar fight in, and they let us get in there. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I kept having to ask her, are you sure? Because I felt so bad. And, we were banging people around, and they were completely fine with it.
That's awesome.
So I think being part of the community, and also I had the advantage of it being a challenge, as opposed to, I'm out. This is a Nevada challenge. So that really helped, because people are like, well, it's a challenge, so let's go.
Right. And again, those are great to have, because it makes us step up to the plate to do things. Again, I don't know. It's that artistic insecurities. I'm about to go into something artistic, so I'm asking, advice all around from people that have done this part that I haven't done yet. Again, it's so.
Well, that's how you learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
excited. You learn the most when you're on set than you do any other time. Like I've taken tons of classes, and I'm trying to get a certification in film right now. But the most I've ever learned is when I've asked people, and they're always willing to give information. So I think that's why I do the podcast.
Well, and that was me. I learned on set. So I think, again, the accidental filmmaker that, I'm this in this film. Even the first one I was a script supervisor was that film Space Captain and Callista, written by Lisa Savey and directed by April Kagan. So I was brought in. I was one of the people that had a small role in it, a supporting role. And but I was helping with some of the pre-production and the planning. And their script supervisor backed out the day before we started filming. So I was brought in, like, you want to script supervise? I have no idea how to do that, but sure. And April, the director, kind of gave me a format. And then that was honestly the last time I ever had to work on a film for free in a technical or production position, because I used that. And I proved upon it as well. I figured out, we do that, then I can actually set up formats on my computer and go to things. So it makes it easier, and keep the book and keep it organized. And I've been able to teach other people to do that. My second AD and script supervisor in Death Club, Jonas Wolverton, learned how to script supervise in the way I do it. And he's gotten other work doing that since. And those are the most humbling and great things when that's passed down. And I'll always thank April Kagan for teaching me to do that. She gave me an opportunity that I did it for free, but it's paid off since, and that's irreplaceable.
Yeah, just my knowledge of, working in a bigger production is that script supervisors is the hardest job to find somebody who can do it, which is a great, if anybody wants to get into it. But the problem being the script supervisor is that if you mess up, you're out. Like, Yeah, you're the first person gone when things go wrong.
Oh yeah, because it's detailed. You're there for every shot for continuity. You're also checking the wardrobe, make sure it was the hair. Because you guys, most people know in film that we don't film, in the order of the script. So when you have to go back and someone doesn't remember, that's the script supervisor's job, script and continuity. And I would take pictures and mark them from then. I think it helped being a business person that I was naturally organized. So it lent to what I knew how to do already. I was very lucky that that's where I started and progressed. Even going into being a first and second AD, the first ones I was ever any of those positions on a film, you know a little bit, but then you learn, like I said, even what the difference is between a first and second AD. And having to create the first time as a second AD, I had to create call sheets and schedules and stuff like that, and then being a first AD, having to communicate between the director and the DP. It's just been, again, I've been very fortunate and lucky to work with people that I was never afraid to ask when I didn't know. I'm the first person to be like, even as a director, when I'm talking to a DP, I'll ask. Last film, Michael Sue is really good and an expert in so many ways that even communicating with him before, I'm like, when we do a shot list, how would you like that? I can do something skeletal. He was really great. He let me do things. Tell me on those shots how you want it to feel, how you feel, what you want it to look like. So the artsy side of me got to be a little descriptive, but I mean, and then it's communication that way. It's, again, it really, and asking people that have that more experience, what can I do to get what we need out of this? What do you need from me? Because I would like this, and I have ideas, and I want to, but I don't know how to execute them properly, or if there is a proper way to execute them. You just want to work with people that can get into what you want, and you can get what they want as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I need to start learning how to do storyboards, because sometimes it's hard to get people in your brain. So I think, I took a class and we did the Itsy Bitsy Spider on a storyboard, my mom and I, one time. But I feel like the storyboard would probably help other people see your vision a little more.
Absolutely.
I just, that's not something I've tackled yet.
Right.
The shot list, I will do one the first couple of days, and then I'm the worst one, because I'm like in the moment. Wait a minute, I need to get this shot. So
Right.
I think I need to get a little more savvy on the shot list, just so that everybody else knows what's going on in my head.
And in an independent film, there's so many varying degrees of experience. So there are some that, that it is beneficial to have those lists and whatnot, because that's how they're used to work, because they've worked a whole lot. And there's some that might be their second or third film that that's not how they do it either. So it's kind of a roll of the dice of figuring out too. Again, the last film I worked in LA, I was a production manager for a film called The Beast Inside through Sadie Katz's production company. It's the first film that her production company is producing. And through experience that I told her that what I had done so far, she goes, I think you'd really be good as a production manager or even as a line producer, which I didn't even know what that was. Now I know. And that's really something I want to go into next, is being a line producer. But, I was able to do her paperwork before, and, legitimately, but also on set as a production manager, working with that director, Jim Towns, who really relied heavily on his storyboarding and, and asking questions. That was something I'm like, I know this exists. I don't know how to ask about it, because I haven't been on a set where I've used that. So I don't want to seem like the guy who doesn't know, but I don't. So, and exquisite. I learned a lot on that set too, just the way they filmed and different things they did to make it look as crisp, and with the second camera and there's some beautiful shots of them. I got to see a rough cut of it with Sadie, because she wasn't able to make the Death Club premiere because she's about to have a baby. She's 8.5 months about to have her baby. So I asked Neelish, our producer, like, hey, can I show this to her in LA? We did a lunch at her house where I'll show you yours I'll show you mine if you show me yours. But it was neat to see what Jim Towns did in that film, because you're on set, you're learning all these new techniques, things, and even his what was it? His monitor that he handheld, that he could be anywhere and have his monitor and how he was.
Was it Bluetooth?
Oh, I don't know. I need to ask that, because it was. I got to hold it. I was like, I want one of these. It was so cool, and these are the people that have these years of experience. I think this is like Jen's 8th or 9th film, so it's one of those things I like, again, that aspect of working with people that have more experience and going in. As a student, the more you progress, again, it's that old adage, the more you know, the more you realize, the less you know, and I'm thankful for that. It was a great set. It was, and those shots that they created on that, it was with Jim as the director, and I think the DP was, his name was, oh gosh, I'm gonna feel like a horrible person because I remember but I don't remember his last name. I had to look it up. But he was fantastic.
Okay, so we're getting close to, but I really want you to tell people about Death Club and about what you're going to do with it next. Like, what's the plan now? Is it getting ready to be released on any of the streaming channels?
Well, no, not yet. What we decided to do with Death Club is we didn't want to go with the same distributors that we had for Ring of Desire, and there's nothing wrong. They weren't bad distributors. I think a producer, it's a stronger film, and that makes me feel good. That I think we upped the level and whatnot. So we are currently at this time shopping it for distributors. We brought in a friend of mine and another friend, Ben Stover, but we brought in film director Gato Satian. He works out of LA, and he's won a lot of awards for his trailers when he had some connections and stuff and he actually, I get to do a shout out, he volunteered his time and he's convincing Neil, our producer. I'm like, hey, this guy's going to help us, that would have stronger connections to stronger distributors.
I'm finding that, because I just took a class on distribution, I'm finding that even all the people that I've talked to on these smaller budgets is, if you get your film distributed, the distribution with the distributor is great, but you're still responsible to help with the marketing.
Yes.
So that's like a whole other thing that I want to talk about. I'm actually doing digital marketing. I just got hired on this job, so I want to try to figure out a filmmaker package, because I feel like that is the big missing piece. I mean, we're all creative, but how do you make money on it? And even these films, like I have a friend that has a film on Netflix. He has no name stars, and it's on there, and he spent a ton of money, but it's a great film. It's called Trees of Peace. It's just that, you saw it on the front page of Netflix the first week. They probably paid a fortune to do that.
Right.
But now nobody knows who they are and where it is. Exactly. I don't care how many awards it wins. If you can't find it, or no one clicks on it, you're not making any money.
There's so many things, because we're learning, I think we can be candid. We're being a little older. There's so many smoke and mirrors involved in this industry. You see your films, you see these things, it's nice when they're entered in festivals and we get these awards. It's awesome. It's cool. I remember getting into the film industry and going, oh my gosh, I want to be that person in festivals, but that doesn't always signify the success of your film. Right. And there are different festivals that are of different levels. Again, I have nothing to do with anything our festivals are put in. That's not, as the director, I don't get a choice. I haven't been given.
Yeah, I've only entered it in the last one, and I only entered it for notes. And
then
then we won, which is awesome. And
that's fantastic.
That was the previous cut. And it was a women's film festival, so I kind of knew we had that a little bit. But this one, I entered it in Slam Dance, and I think that's it. Then I'm going to go.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm hoping that we get in. I don't know if we will, but I figured I'm going to try one.
It's worth a shot.
And the one we won was Oscar qualifying, but then that would cost more than the film was made for.
Exactly.
To actually, and then unless they have one that says a film made under $10,000, I'm probably not going to win. So I'm just going to leave it. Yeah, I know, but you know what I'm saying, right?
With Death Club, even talking with Neelish, who does the entering and things, like, and those are great awards. I don't know, it looks good on your IMDb. Like, I have this many awards, and it's not dispelling anybody that gets those. It's not at all. For me, it's that aspect of it's nice to get them. I just want to get better every time I
Yeah.
do this. I
No, I
just
agree.
get
And
at
learn
it.
more with each one. And
Yeah.
then, as
And
far as the marketing packages and all that, that'll all come because you'll start realizing we need those.
right.
And the
And
thing is that you don't even get to that part till the movie's made and it's already on channels, because what's the point of spending the money on marketing if it's not in front of people's faces and they can't just click immediately on it?
and I even got more excited, like I said, when one of our actors won an award, and we got the award for the soundtrack and the music. To me, that was more exciting because the people at Virgin, you got those awards. I mean, we got some producer and director awards, and they're nice. Again, I don't know how they decide best producer in a festival. I don't know how they would do it.
It depends on the film festival. Some it's all in
Yeah,
one fee. Most of them
yeah,
they have to pay extra for
right.
each one, and
And again,
which is great. Like I've done it, and I feel like for actors out there, if you want to get those best actors and best supporting, you need to, once the film gets accepted into a film festival, when it says official selection, you need to call your filmmaker and say, hey, I'll pay the whatever $15 or $35 fee to put me up for that, so that you can get those awards.
And see, and I don't think people realize that.
They don't.
Okay.
That's why
I'll be honest, because I was like, why are we getting these random awards for other things? And again, it's nothing against anybody. Everybody wants those kudos and great. I don't. I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't, but it's nice. But
it's important because if you don't have an award, then they're not looking at you twice.
Right.
Everybody knows what the film festival circuit's like, but they don't. But unless you're prescribing to it, but you know what? It does impress people,
right?
Because it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So you just need to make sure that you're part of the pool, so that you can get those awards. So when you get those wins, and it's important.
But it also comes from even the different festivals. So we have the ones that are overseas and in Europe and India or Africa or South America, wherever. I often feel like, do they watch these films, or do they ever actually watch them?
You know what? Foreign markets are some of the biggest markets that your film can go into.
Good.
I mean, the local market, we got to deal with X-Men and all that, but I think your foreign markets, they love Americans and they love American films. So I think we're all good there. So Ronnie, so I wanted you to just tell us what's next for Ronnie, and then we'll sign off.
Well, right now, we are currently in selling Death Club, or hopefully get that done by December is the plan. My next project is in Las Vegas, is a blind project of producing another burlesque and cabaret show quarterly out there. So that will still keep me working in Vegas. And again, I gave up my apartment this last year, so not working in Vegas as much. But that we have two coming up, Speakeasy 22. The next one will be in February. We have another one called Queer as F.
Hashtag, I saw it. Yeah.
Has to be out there. It's like one of the kind of the polar opposite of the other one, which is kind of classic. And this one I wanted to be a little edgy and blah, blah, blah with that. And that's coming up next. We're about to release that, all the information this week and the dates and all that. And we'll be I can announce the venue at Jimmy Madison's in Las Vegas. Really great venue. I met with the owners there. Yeah, I really enjoy that venue, and they do a lot of cool shows there. But that's what's next. I've been doing some work. I was just in LA, and I did I worked on an asylum film. Interesting story there again. It was the same film that had Ben Stover had been in, and had an odd situation. But it's crazy when you're going into something. The things that we get older and decide where our careers or trajectories are going. I went there and a couple studios out there and classes, but even at that too, where you're going in, you kind of give them your story as a director and where you're coming from. And there's some opportunities where it's like, wait, within a year, you could probably be directing. That sounds great. It seems like you're organized. And I think, and I don't think that's the direction I'm going to go. I think I want to work. I think before I direct a third film, I want to get in LA, start as PAs and in other positions on those crews like I did in Las Vegas, because I want to go a little stronger. And it's nice when you're getting these opportunities and they're offered, and it's cool.
You just want to learn everything on
Yeah,
set, on the sets, as opposed to taking it all on again by yourself. Because this way, in hopes that the next directorial debut will each film will get stronger and stronger because you'll know what everybody's job is.
My 2 films was, one was an erotic, the next was a horror, and I want people to look back sometime, hopefully, and go, this is where he started, and be like, yay, and we saw the brushes of what he's going to do, but it's not with the same trajectory I'm going to stay on. I think even with some, films working in LA, even and with some of the working with some of the people I've gotten worked with in Vegas, it's not anything. I just think I want to go to, for me as an artist, again, that's why I'm writing, and kind of the content of work that I want to do is a little different. And this could blow up in my face. I could be like, why would you turn down these opportunities? And I think I'm making the right decision. I'm hoping.
You're doing great. You're making the right decision. You just have to go one road or the other. You always make it work. But I do believe that for you, your piece de resistance would probably be, in my opinion, to do a documentary on burlesque.
I think that'd be good.
That would be, it's documentaries are a different switch, but I think you can collect a lot of historical pieces and then put it all together, and because you're the guy that needs to do that.
And I've talked to some of the burlesque communities and around the country, and even the lesson judges in town that get some of their stories from the old burlesquers that were in the heydays that worked with Elvis Presley and some of that I would like to do that. I think what I want to do is also I want to write a Gen X film of Gen Xers now, living in society, and the conflicts and stuff, kind of that slice of life. But I also want to do it with 4 intermingling stories that cross paths, kind of like in the mantra films like Crash and some of those. That's what I'm writing to next. And also to write for people that are around my age. I think around our ages, I think it's hard to find roles for us that really reflect who we are as people. And that's what I'm going to, that's what I would like to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's, the society's changed so much, which is a good thing. And I feel like
it's hard to figure out what we want to do or how we fit in sometimes. Or we're going to say the right or wrong thing sometimes. And I think that's
everybody feels that way. And I feel like we just need to have tolerance and understand that people are going to say the wrong things based on, where they live and how they were raised. And then, but the good thing about us is that most of us can learn.
Right. Well, and that's it too. I think some of that is that if we're constantly looking for reason to disagree, then we're always going to be, and this has been an interesting year. I've had, some personal stuff with my partner's been very ill in the last 6 months, and it puts some things in perspective of what's important and what we want to put out there. Again, it's easy to fight and be vitriolic. Right now I'm in that mode. I don't even want to engage in that so much anymore. I'm like, you know what? If it's not bringing me happiness or it's causing me conflict, then I don't need to have that. And I think that the thing again, I'm 50 in less than a month, and I think I want to enjoy the things I get and have, and enjoy the people I have. That because very often I like when people are coming from those things where it's constant. I feel they're not even. It's not people aren't. They're coming from a bad place. I think everyone thinks they're coming from a righteous place and a good place. And we sometimes need to understand that sometimes they may not come off the right way, but having a little words that are seem to be overused, like empathy. If we're really empathetic, we want to understand why.
We're just all doing our best, and we don't know, depending on what's going on. But what I wanted to say was that, first of all, happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
But 50 is the new 30. At least that's what I keep telling everybody.
I hope so.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of you. I really feel like, and I really do appreciate you always recommending me for the Lucky Sevens Challenge. You really made me push myself.
You made a good film. It was cool.
I didn't know if I could do it, but I pushed myself and I did it. So I really appreciate you for that. And I would love to put you on some sort of panel with other filmmakers, and we could talk about just filmmaking in general. But today is Real Women, celebrating women in film. But today we're celebrating Ronnie Lloyd Nanos because he is a supporter of a lot of female filmmakers, and we really do appreciate you.
There's some really great filmmakers everywhere. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Ronnie.
Thank you, Brenda. Have a wonderful
Bye.
day. Bye-bye.
Looks like this place has never been closed.
Now, I do remember there were a lot of cops here.
People doing drugs, having sex on the dance floor.
Hey, is somebody else here? There's somebody else in here. Quit screwing around and come on down here and party with us. Look away from me! Get away from me!
Get over yourself.
Do you think I'm pretty?
Don't care about me. I only care about her.